But I could easily look at Ryan Day and say, if we have this conversation this time next year, he's at 2. Because I am very high on Ohio State, okay, for this year. And I think that they're going to – I think they can get there. They have the talent, and I do think they have the coaching staff. I think they got everything. I think they check – Ohio State this year checks so many boxes. And you just talked about the ability to adapt. You got to give Ryan Day credit. He went from being the play caller, not the play caller, and giving it over to somebody on staff. And then, Joe, you got to give it to him. He pulled off the move, might be of the decade, in getting Chip Kelly to go and be the OC at Ohio State. He's got to win one. And the first time around, and we've made this comparison before, he got out coached by Nick Saban. Well, Joe, ironically, he's in a lot of the same positions that Kirby Smart was. It's kind of scary if you look at it to say, well, damn, Kirby was almost in the same exact spot, going the same exact year Ryan Day was before he started a back-to-back national championship run. Now, I don't know if Ohio State can do that, but they're definitely got the personnel now to do it. I mean, he's in a 10-11 win factor. What is his record, like 54 and 5 or 6? I mean, just absolutely ridiculous how many games he's won. And quite honestly, Joe, if we're being a little bit real, I mean, I think that Ryan Day is doing everything that you think that Dan Lanning is.
Yeah, his 56-8 is his current record.
56-8.
I also find it funny. I think we're way higher on Ryan Day than like most other outlets are. Here's the one thing I will say. I don't get that. So here's the one thing I will say, though, then this needs to be established here. He has, without a doubt, the most volatile coaching stock out of any of the guys that we're talking about.
What do you mean by that?
If Ryan Day reaches the semifinal of the college football playoff, I think is enough to move him up to number 2, because you just talked about it. That is a huge step forward. But if they lose to Michigan this year, he might get fired. Like, in all seriousness, like, no jokes, nothing. We've talked about this before. They will call for his head if they lose to Michigan again, because that takes them out of the Big Ten championship game, and that might take them out of the playoff.
No. Joe, if they have one loss, Ohio State is getting into a 2-team playoff. Buddy.
Okay, I retract that part. Okay. But my whole bit here is he might not get fired, but he suddenly gets really, really hot on the hot seat. That's what I'm saying is it's very volatile, where it's crazy to think he's done all these great things. And if he can't accomplish and get the job done with all these great things, then they're going to be really disenfranchised with the results. But it sounds like, and as I mentioned, I'm going to say a million times over, how is he positioned the current program to eventually succeed? The argument of, him doing the right things this offseason is fully there. From a roster building standpoint, a coaching staff building standpoint, he has checked every single box.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know why people are so down on him. I mean, you just basically, sold me on my own thoughts on him. Really, I don't understand the Heat necessarily because, look, man, he got out coached by Nick Saban in a national title game during COVID. He had less games, than Alabama did that year. They didn't play, 5-6 games in that COVID year. Look, he's had some recruiting issues when the portal opened up, and he went to fix defense, then offense regressed. What's sad is that we look at a guy like Ryan Day, and we'll give so many other people the benefit of the doubt. Lane, Sark, Dan, everybody else. But I do think that it's funny, like, Joe, like Steve Sarkisian's on that list, and Ryan Day, quite honestly, or at least he's on my list. I think like he's light years ahead of Dan Lanning right now. I mean, Dan Lanning too, but I think he might be light years ahead of Sark.
I think the expectations are different at some of these places. The expectations
are different at Ohio State than Texas.
I think with the current wait, I think the way that they have been like horrendously terrible has given him a little bit more grace. And you brought up Lane, and you brought up, some of these other guys that might go over.
Dan, I mean, to some extent. Like, so let me give an example of what I mean, not what we're talking about. I've seen lists these last 2 weeks of Dan Lanning being at 4 above Ryan Day. And I'm
That I
like,
don't agree. That I don't agree.
like, and so that was the debate that I thought that we had sparked there. I'm like, what are we doing?
BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.